Birmingham Sports
with Ed Mackay.
This is BHBN Radio.
Welcome to a very special edition of the Monday After. I'm Ed Mackay, and I'm bringing you a slightly different version of the show today because we're going to bring the first half live from the press box at Birmingham City, where we have just brought you live commentary of Birmingham City versus Leeds United. Now, one thing that I just want to make clear before we throw to our Birmingham City expert, Kim Smith, is that I have heard that the world's press have been at Birmingham City today. And it just goes to highlight when Birmingham City are playing Leeds at midday on a rainy Sunday afternoon, that the FA Cup is still a global spectacle. A lot more people are going to be watching the FA Cup this weekend. I appreciate that it's across multiple games than watched the Super Bowl last weekend. So it does show you that this prestigious trophy is still in people's hearts across the globe. In fact, I'll go straight to Kim. Kim's at Birmingham City. I mean, am I painting the right picture? Has it been that kind of raucous atmosphere?
Yeah, I mean, certainly as the game wore on, it was getting more and more sort of feral in here. Yeah, it was a tremendous game. Just before the start, there was a huge banner unfurled wishing Tom Wagner well, and then there was a minute's applause for him. I think on the 13th minute, because he says 13 is his lucky number. But yeah, great game. I mean, Blues really, really went toe to toe with Leeds. It was all square at half time. Nemecha put Leeds ahead with a strike in the 49th minute. But as it was getting more through the game, Blues were getting corner after corner, plenty of pressure from them, really good play. I'd like to pick out Tommy Doyle and Kai Wagner. They were both absolutely tremendous. Because I'm assuming you were watching the game from home as well.
I've watched the game, and I'm just going to take you back a little bit, actually. So just to do it chronologically, the first half, I thought Birmingham City battered Leeds in the first half. They were really unlucky not to be 1-0 up. I mean, Jay Stansfield has that great opportunity. And, I actually thought you should have gone in at half-time winning the game.
Yeah, it was a good attempt from Jay hitting the woodwork. And also, Blues were doing so much of the pressing as well. And I think Leeds were finding it quite difficult to cope with. And, of course, what happened in reply to that is Daniel Farker had to put quite a few of his sort of main first-team players on to try and contain Blues. And, of course, they didn't contain Blues because Patrick Roberts got that tremendous strike just before the 90 to equal things up. And then, again, in added time, Leeds were not able to break Blues down. And in the end, it was only the penalties that were Blues undoing. But it was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with anything you've just said. One thing I will say is I appreciate that. I thought Tommy Doyle was incredible. He covered every blade of grass. But you and I were at Oxford a couple of weeks ago to see Birmingham, and we saw Vicente come onto the pitch. He made a sort of late appearance, but he immediately had an impact. And I thought in the first half they could not live with him down the right wing. He was an absolute nuisance, wasn't he?
Yeah, his movement is so good on and off the ball. He's one of these players who can really think ahead and anticipate where the ball is going to end up and what he can do to get play forward. But I think he's been a great acquisition for Blues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll move on then. So I thought that the extra time, as you say, I mean, it must have been absolute bedlam in the stadium when that 89th minute winner equaliser, went in. I mean, what was the noise like then? Did the roof come off?
Oh yeah, it was absolutely astonishing, and also, I mean, okay, for the penalties, Leeds had the advantage of taking the penalties in front of their own fans, but the racket from the Blues fans was absolutely astonishing. But yeah, it was a real sort of blood and thunder FA Cup tie. And, I think Leeds are going to feel as though they've played a game today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if not just because it went all the way, to penalties. I mean, let's talk about the penalties then. You really have to feel for Tommy Doyle and Patrick Roberts. I mean, obviously they've missed their pens. It means Leeds go through. Um, what was the feeling like then as the missed penalties went in? Because I thought it became clear as soon as Tommy Doyle missed and they scored. I thought, well, that's it, really. Is that
Yeah,
how it felt in the stadium,
yeah,
or?
yeah. Yeah, and also I think that ramped up the pressure on Patrick Roberts because obviously he
Yeah.
knew he got to score and he didn't strike it well and it went over the
The
bar.
fourth pen, really,
Um,
wasn't it? Because you actually lean on the telly, you could see how much he leaned back. You think, oh my goodness,
yeah,
you'd tell a kids team off for
don't
taking a
lean
pen
back.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it was a
yeah,
bit
that's it. Because
disappointing the outcome.
yeah, I mean, I know, Kay, it's rough to go out on penalties, but I think you can't let that take away from the performance because the
No,
overall
not at all.
performance was just really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, as you rightly said, and I'll steal your phraseology there. You went toe to toe with a
Yeah,
Premier League team, and they're not behaving like a newly promoted Premier League team leads. Daniel Farke's had a sort of a moment of clarity, if you like, and he's changed the way his team operates. And more often than not, they give teams a game. I mean, my team, Liverpool, only managed to get a draw against them at Anfield. So getting a draw against Leeds to St Andrews is no mean feat. Where does it leave the Birmingham City um, manager in terms of the season? Obviously, you're out the FA Cup now, but he's got something to hold on to there because of the performance. What does that mean his aim should be? Because as you say, they've made lots of acquisitions, they've backed him. He's shown that they can perform against a Premier League team. What's the
it's
aim now then?
making yeah, it's making sure that mentality from today is also injected into the remaining games because obviously there's still quite a lot of games left in this division. And it's getting that mentality again.
Yeah, so it's sort of using this, even though it's a loss, it's using the performance
Yeah.
and the atmosphere to galvanize the fans, the players, and push everyone forward. Is there a playoff push in the offing, do you think? Is that how good Birmingham can
Oh,
be?
I really don't know. I think some of this might depend on injuries. Obviously, we've got Peck out now for an unspecified period because we
Yes.
don't know what's happened with that shoulder injury. We do have Damari Gray back, but obviously he only played 45 minutes today. So I
Played the
think
first half, and
some
he
of it,
looked like he was enjoying playing for him
yes,
for Birmingham City, didn't he?
yeah, yeah, that's it. But I'm sure they didn't want to push him to do the full 90, so I'm sure he will be eased back in. But then also towards the end, Chris Davies decided to go for it by putting another attacking player on in Fujimoto and taking Asai Samuel off. I He didn't have the full battery of his team available because he'd obviously decided he wanted to rest a couple. But I think what he did with the players he had was extremely good.
Yeah, I've actually been impressed with Chris Davies' in-game management all season. I saw a couple of the
Yeah.
the highest scoring 4-1s before the Christmas period, and I think he does have a handle on what his squad is capable of, when to deploy certain players, and he showed that again today, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm sure he should be very pleased with that. And I would have thought that the average Blues fan is going to be pretty buoyed up by today.
Yeah.
Because of the performance, because of the effort put in by the players, and everything else that went into it. But yeah, a defeat, but not a defeat, if you know what I
Yeah, no,
mean.
yeah, I mean, listen, everyone knows, any football fan knows out there, a penalty shootout. is a lottery. So to take Leeds United, and let's face it, Leeds United is still a massive, global presence in the world of football. Took them to the wire. Okay, it didn't work out during a penalty shootout, but I thought Birmingham City had the better of the game on the pitch, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I thought you definitely won the first half, and you won the first half of extra time as well. I mean, and in the second half of extra time, okay, you battened down the hatchets a bit, but that block from Tommy Doyle right at the end, to those heroics to keep you in the game. And as I say, you do feel for him being the one to miss the pen after
Oh
making
yeah, I
sure.
know, I know. It's such a shame, but still, yeah. All wrapped up now, and look forward to the next league game and see if we can produce another performance like that. Although I do hope Chris Davies gives the players a day off tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, I think they've earned that much. Well, time of recording, Grimsby are still playing Wolverhampton Wanderers. So I will wrap it up there, and I'll let you go and get wrapped up and warm up,
Yeah.
Kim, because you've just brought us a really, extended live commentary on the BHBN network. So I'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us, and I don't know, bringing us the atmosphere from live in the ground.
Indeed.
The second half of the show, we will bring you the Wolves result and the analysis, along with going into a bit of a deep dive on just what Aston Villa players thought they were doing last night. So we will also cover West Brom. But without further ado, just enough time to say thank you to Kim, and we will go for a quick break. We'll see you in the second half of the show.
BHBN Radio has been going since 1952. It is run entirely by volunteers, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Right now, BHBN needs friends like you to ensure it can broadcast to hospitals, care homes, and into the community for many more years to come. You can help by donating through our Just GoFundMe account. It's easy. Simply go to our website, bhbn.net, scan our GoFundMe QR code, and in a few clicks, you can help us out. If you're a taxpayer, you can give 25% more through gift aid at no extra cost to you.
BHBN Radio.
Welcome back to the Monday After. I'm Ed Mackay, and this time I am joined by a panel of West Midland football experts. We've got Enton Barefoot, Jonathan Wimbush, and Rob Richards with me to dissect the other three FA Cup fixtures this weekend. We've covered Birmingham City with Kim, and now we're going to have a look at Wolverhampton Wanderers game. Okay, so that happened during the Birmingham demise, if you like, but they did manage to progress to the next round of the FA Cup. They were away at Grimsby. Nobody elected themselves to make the journey up to the fishing port of Grimsby today, unfortunately. I mean, Grimsby have already knocked out Man United, but they couldn't knock out a second Premier League club because Wolves did win. It took them till the 60th minute to actually score, and I did make a joke that it was Gomez feeding Bueno, but that covers most of the Wolves team in terms of the names of their players. So 1-0 to Wolves. I'm going to come straight to Enton as a fellow Premier League team fan. I mean, how does this work out for Wolves? I mean, is it a positive for Rob Edwards? Is that how we have to look at it?
Yeah, of course. I think going Grimsby, I've been bolstered by the fact that they beat Man United, haven't they? So the bet the town itself has been buzzing. So they obviously like a good cup game. So I thought with all the things that's happened at the Forest at City Ground the other week, with obviously Wolves drawing 0-0 at Forest, I think that was a good result from to go away, playing the FA Cup, and they got a victory. And I made some stats as well. So looked at some stats, sorry. And Grimsby had more of the possession anyway, so which is just under 56% of the possession. So they've done really well. So it gave me a wry smile because it's what's needed at the minute with Wolves, because the inevitable is the inevitable, but they've got a victory and they're into the next round, and that's really good for the club.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, they're not actually over that hurdle yet of getting to 12 points. I mean, that's the sort of the marker that we've been discussing on the Monday After Show for quite some time now. And they're on 8. So so they do need another win, another draw to actually not be the worst Premier League team of all time. And like you say, they got a point against Nottingham Forest. They get a win. They go through to the next round of the FA Cup. Jonathan, I mean, I'll come to you. How does this change the parameters of what Wolverhampton Wanderers can achieve this season?
Well, it's certainly going to give them some confidence. I mean, as you said, Grimsby in the cup at home. We've seen Manchester United get knocked out of the League Cup by them at the same ground. So people before this match were thinking, can they do it again? Can they knock out another Premier League team? And yeah, okay, no offence to Wolverhampton Wanderers, but being bottom of the Premier League with Man United currently where they are, you would think that this would have been the most likely fixture to have a cup upset. Obviously, apart from the other one that we've discussed with Birmingham and Leeds, that was the other fixture that could have had an upset. But no such upsets, thankfully, for Wolves and their fans. And of course, great goal by Santiago Bueno, poacher's goal, really, on the hour mark. And yeah, I mean, they have 9 points at the bottom of the table, so they just need a win to beat Derby's record. I see you holding your hands up there, Ed. But 9 points after the goalless draw. 9 points after the draw with Forest, and this might give them a little bit of confidence now to instill get some points, more points on the board, and I mean it's going to be a tough ask, obviously, the way the Wolves' league form has gone, but never say never.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know whether to take a victory there or a defeat, because you can see that I had done my prep too early. So I actually ended up getting the stats wrong. But you make it, it's a good point. They're closing in on it. And the thing for me is Rob Edwards has made a difference, actually. I was there for a couple of the Vitor Pereira games along with yourself, Jonathan, and it had become toxic, and he wasn't getting a tune out of them. They have certainly fought a lot harder under Rob Edwards, and today's, like you say, it's a day to take some confidence away from their performances. I think. Also, they did have a little bit of upheaval in January in the transfer window, as we discussed on our transfer show, the window of opportunity. So to show that they're willing to still, go away to a horrible place. I mean, Grimsby have made it hard for a lot of clubs this season, not just Man United. And so, like you say, I sort of see it similarly to Birmingham City. Okay, they got knocked out today, but the performance is something they can like grab a hold of, build upon, and I don't think there's anything too negative about the fact that they're through to the next round of the FA Cup. They haven't got much else to worry about, Wolverhampton Wanderers. They already know they're going down. I mean,
Yeah.
Rob, I'll come to you then, and it'll lead us nicely into the Villa game, because there's a lot to dissect there. I mean, Wolverhampton Wanderers game is sort of on paper, it's exactly how it should go. It's an away game against a lower league team, and Wolverhampton Wanderers won 1-0. They're through to the next round. Isn't that how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the win was a very bare minimum, to be honest. I know Wolves have been dire this season, but you've got to look still where the clubs are in relation to each other. Yeah, it was probably they could have maybe scored a few more, but they won, and that's all they can ask for, really.
Yeah. I mean, it was almost like you had to flip between the channels as a West Midlands football correspondent because obviously Birmingham City's game went on for so long with extra time in, people going down, penalties, that the first
Hmm.
half and it was difficult, wasn't it, to switch between the two? So yeah, Wolves are through. That's the way we have to look at it. And it's a positive for West Midlands football to see a team. I mean, it's difficult to like get your head around it all when they're calling it round four. Sometimes it's last 32 and stuff. But they're in the mix, and that's what we
Yeah.
can take away
Yeah,
from that particular game.
and,
Go on,
and what I will
Jonathan.
say, yeah, sorry, what I will say, Ed, is I've just gone over their next few fixtures. Next Wednesday, they've got a home game against the league leaders, Arsenal. Obviously, don't see anything coming out of that one. And then they're away to
Well,
Crystal
you
Palace.
say that.
Yeah,
Hold on
yeah,
a
never
minute.
say
The
never.
start of
Exactly.
their rebuild was
Yeah,
they should have actually got a point against
Hmm.
Arsenal. They really
absolutely.
turned
Yeah,
up.
yeah. And obviously, then they've got Crystal Palace away, and the derby on the last Friday of February at home to Aston Villa. So they have got a tough run coming in for the rest of the month.
Well, they
But
have because
yeah, it's
who do they play after that on the 3rd of March?
yeah. They
A
play Liverpool.
resurgent Liverpool.
Yeah, so the next
Okay.
four games are going to be really tough for them.
No, you're exactly
Yeah.
right. I think that they've got a mountain to climb and they need a confidence boost before they take on
Mm,
those teams. I'll make you
yeah.
exactly right. Let's do it then, because there's a lot to dissect. In the before Liverpool went through at 8 p.m., there was a 5:45 game, wasn't there? And we had our live commentary team at Aston Villa to cover this game versus Newcastle. And I was actually on the live show earlier that day with Phil, and I predicted that Villa would have a little too much for Newcastle and that they would win 2-1. And I think right up until the 45th minute, when Aston Villa were winning 1-0 and they had a corner their way with 30 seconds to go before half time, my prediction was well on the way to becoming true. Now let's go over to Rob Richards. He's turned up looking like a pint of Guinness. What exactly were the Aston Villa players playing at with 30 seconds to go before half time, 1-0 up?
Uh, I think that one goes to the attention, or for the attention of Mr. Austin McPhee, the set piece general, Aston Villa employee. Um, I obviously, if you weren't watching the game, Villa, I sort of do understand that kind of momentum. Well, I'll explain what I mean. Villa had three corners in quick succession, and we're getting quite close to scoring. And if you can double your lead just before half time, usually you just send everyone up, to see if you can get a goal. Okay, we had some Villa had some good set pieces, some good routines. They played it short. Pau Torres spanning behind. I think they just wanted they. I think they miscalculated and thought Newcastle are on the ropes here. Let's send everyone up. If we can get 2-0 by half time, we're laughing. And I think they obviously just got that wrong, really. But I yeah,
Hold on.
I don't think. Go
We're
on, go on,
missing
go on.
out. We're missing something out here, right?
Okay.
Because if a team breaks on you, you're in trouble.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
If they do break on you and you're 1-0 up,
Yeah.
and it becomes 1-1, the challenge in the second half is exactly the same as it was when you kicked off at 0-0.
Yeah. No, that's fair
So
enough. It's
talk me through the actual mental process of a keeper running out to the halfway line and going down to 10 men.
so again, obviously, because of the angle that our commentary position was, I'm not sure it showed on telly. I think Bizot was about 40 to 50 yards out of goal anyway, as the modern goalkeepers do now when their teams are taking corners. So I think Bizot was way out anyway, and it came down to the ball was being played out, and Leon Bailey tried maybe a blind sort of kick behind him to try and scoop it back towards goal. It got caught by a Newcastle player. And then all of a sudden, it was 4 players versus Bizot, and he had to do what he had to do in that situation.
Come on, he did not have to do that.
Well, I'm sorry, but if you're a goalkeeper in that split
Just
second
let him run
judgment,
through and score. It's 1-1.
I understand. Yeah, 1-1 with 10 men. That's also, but in that decision, in that situation, that's the decision that Bizot made, was to take the man. He was approaching to try and challenge. He's missed it. I think it was Murphy kicked the ball and he thought, sod this, I've got to take him then, because now I look like a chump. And he took him, and he's got a red.
Okay.
I'm not defending it. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, in that situation, that's the decision that he made.
To his goal and back himself to save the 1-on-1.
Can you run as fast as Jacob Murphy back to your own goal? He would have just chipped him.
Can, yeah. I've been training every morning.
I've seen the pictures, yeah. But effectively he was in no man's land.
All right. Okay, so, he's in no man's land.
He's in no man's land. He's panicked. Right. He's rushed a bit, and he took him out. Yeah.
Let's go back one then. Let's go back.
Yeah.
And I'll come to Ensign for this, because he and I have discussed VAR on a number of occasions. Obviously, there's no VAR in this round of the FA Cup. Should Aston Villa already have been playing with 10 men when they actually went down to 10 men? Lucas Digne goes in on, I believe it was Jacob Murphy received the foul, wasn't it? So he's already got through and nearly had his leg broken, as far as I'm concerned. Should Digne have been on the pitch?
That, to me, may be controversial, but that to me alone I think that's a red card anyway. So I think he's very, very lucky. And again, it's the perception that we see. Obviously, it's what the referee sees, and I think that how can that not be a second yellow or a red card? So I honestly don't know, because it was shocking. It's just madness. It was just madness from him.
Well, I think it's madness from the referee. I mean, Jonathan, I might as well bring you in, because you and I, again, we've had lots of decisions on VAR. Have they become over-reliant on VAR? Because that is a red card, surely.
Well, I think they have. And what the point I was going to make is that when Bizot got sent off, Aston Villa with VAR probably should have still been at 0-0, because Tammy Abraham's goal would have been judged offside. So obviously they'd still be at 0-0, and they'd have already been down to 10 men anyway, so they could have been down to 9 men by half time. Aston Villa. So I think they have relied too heavily in the Premier League on VAR, and I think they touched on it in commentary on the channel that I was watching it on, that basically the referees and the linesmen, they've been so over-reliant on VAR because they've had it in the league games, that when that safety net has gone, then all the mistakes start getting magnified. And especially we'll probably touch on it in a moment, but the free kick that should have been a penalty, that was,
we're going to come to that.
That was,
that was hold back for 1 second.
Yeah.
So it's my fault. as the host, I jumped ahead a little bit because I was so. Uh, my mind was blown by what the keeper did when they're 1-0
Yeah.
up. Rob, let's come back to you. How on earth were your team 1-0 up? T- Don't get me wrong. Again, on Phil's show prior to kickoff, I actually earmarked Tammy Abraham to score that goal. This is why you're also scared about me coming into the prediction show next season because I called Tammy Abraham scoring a goal. He was
Well,
he was a mile offside.
I'm not too sure I'm that scared if you predict Villa to win, because I actually predicted Newcastle to
But you
win,
would have done.
and
You
they
would have
did anyway, so we're okay with that one.
done.
No, so I'd like to just interject this as well before this. I'm not moaning about this result. That was fully deserved.
No, I understood
Newcastle
that. Yeah.
obviously should have won, probably maybe even 3 or 4-0, to be honest. But yeah, with Tammy's goal, obviously offside. It looked like at the time. I wasn't sure that it was going to be called. We was doing live commentary, and I was waiting for a flag to go up. A little bit surprising it was let in. So yeah, obviously that should have been ruled out. With the Digne handball in the box, that was a mile in the box as well. So I'm not sure how you can get that wrong.
That was our next topic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
And
my issue is, I'm sorry to interrupt. My issue is, you know, all of a sudden later in the competition, VAR is going to be introduced. Now, VAR, I get that we got the right result in the end, and I agree with you. And I saw your oddball output that you weren't annoyed really because actually you shouldn't even have been 1-0 up. So I understand that
mhm.
you're you know a
I was
balanced Villa
annoyed at
fan.
the refereeing decisions, how poor
Well,
the
to be
standard
honest,
was.
there was a case to suggest that one of the Newcastle players should have been sent off because he dived 2 or 3 times and he got one yellow card. So this, my point
Yeah.
is, there was a complete um almost indication of what we have to make decisions all of a sudden. It's like yeah, that's your job. Not to sound too much like Roy Keane, but that's your job. You
But
know,
but
you turn up,
referees
you
have
make
done this.
decisions.
That's been the referee's job since referees were
They don't.
introduced into the
Yeah,
game. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And we've had what, about 4 or 5 seasons of VAR, and all of a sudden they've completely forgotten. Well, not forgotten, but they've just got so poor, or maybe relying on, well, we'll make a decision, it will come back and it will save us. That shouldn't be the case. Well, I'll have half a guess and then it will be corrected. No, when the VAR was first
Come on.
introduced, it wasn't to
The,
re-referee the game, it was to assist. But now they've
yeah.
gotten so, like, well, I'm gonna say one thing and they'll look at it and they'll correct me. It's like Tipex.
Yeah.
Enton
Don't.
actually made this point a few weeks ago. He was saying it's supposed to be clear and obvious. It's not supposed to take
Yeah,
4 minutes to make a decision. It's not supposed to take 8 minutes to make a decision. If you don't know,
yeah.
then we go with the on field. I mean, Enton, uh, am I right?
Yeah, well, the thing I wanted to come in and just say, it's like, think about it from a human element. We're old enough to realise linesmen, we have a human element of play, of officiating the game. So VAR was there to help the human element of it. So when you see a game like this should be the game that puts them back into HQ and say, as a human being, as a physical person there who's learned how to do the job, how has this got so wrong?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because the
I
Tammy
agree with
Abraham
you.
goal was so, it was, I just, what I was frustrated is that the human element was allowed to be there that on that game. Technology was out the way, and for some reason we're now saying that some of the decisions that these linesmen, these gentlemen that do it and women that do it in the women's game, they go on courses. They are trained to know what offside is. They do it day in, day out, and yet they're in the news now for the human error again.
Totally agree with you. And the thing I'll describe it as is like, oh, when your supervisor turns up that day, you turn it on. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you don't go missing. I mean, Rob, uh,
Well,
surely
I was
there's an
to this
explanation.
well, I don't think well, we know what the referees, they close ranks when things like this happen, so I doubt we'll get any sort of explanation about anything. But the two games that I've seen this season that haven't been involved with VAR were both of Villa's FA Cup fixtures away at Tottenham and at home to Newcastle, and both games you could tell there was no VAR because in that the Tottenham game, you had Paulinho running around kicking leather out of everyone. I think, not to sound like a Villa fan moaning, but I think in a way, Paulinho maybe knew there was no VAR that day, so he could give everyone a bit of an extra kick or lay in things. And of course, as well, you had all that business towards the end as well. There's that brawl in
Oh
front of the
yeah,
Villa
the
fans.
Ollie Watkins
Um,
nonsense.
yeah,
Yes,
so you think if that was in the Premier League or if that in a competition with VAR, maybe there would have been a couple of red cards handed out. So the two
West Ham
fixtures that
Chelsea,
I've seen,
you know,
yeah,
West
and
Ham
there you go.
Chelsea, the fight, and someone got sent off through VAR intervention on that game. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the two games that I've even just seen live, with my own eyes, both without VAR, both you could tell there was no VAR, and there were poor levels of officiating in just
okay.
those two games
Let
without VAR.
let's talk about the worst decision of the game, mate. The actual physical and visual bottling of a decision. Luke Digne, he handballed on like
Yeah.
the penalty spot, and he brought it back. I'm exaggerating,
It-
but they brought it back for a free kick. I mean, I know that Tonali scored off the back of it, and it felt like justice. It's a way, right?
but then again, on another day, Tonali doesn't score and justice isn't served.
Mm.
Do you
That's
know what
what
I
I'm
mean?
saying. No, like the fact that he
Yeah,
scored felt like justice. It should
yeah,
have just been a penalty. There's no way that guy could have been adjudged to be outside the box. Jonathan,
yeah.
was he outside the box?
No, he definitely wasn't. And even after the decision was made for the free kick, he was still standing inside the box.
In the
So
box.
my
Yeah,
thought
he
was
he
Yeah.
jumped and landed in the box
landed
and
in the
stood in
box,
the
so,
box.
and he just
But
stood there,
still
didn't
stood
he?
in the
So
box.
it was
He
like,
didn't have the good grace to run outside the box and the decision to be given. Totally great. Right, we're gonna have to leave Villa there because I really feel like we got the right outcome. It was in the end, Aston Villa won, Newcastle three. I'll be honest. I think Eddie Howe needs to go for the FA Cup way more than Unai Emery does. Unai Emery's already punching way above his expectations. Unai Emery already knows exactly the trophy he wants to win, and it ain't the FA Cup. He's going for the Europa League.
Sorry, my last part on
Eddie
this.
Howe,
Yes,
Eddie Howe, Eddie Howe isn't going to win the Champions League, so he
that's
need, so
yeah,
he needs the FA Cup. Go
yeah.
on, sorry.
I was sorry. I was just going to agree with yeah.
Oh, you're going to
I
say the
would
same?
say
Yeah,
yeah, I'd say Newcastle need this more than Villa. In hindsight, easy to say, but they're probably going to be out of the Champions League first knockout stage. Villa probably will go into Europa League further than Newcastle will, and it's unlikely Newcastle are going to finish in Europe as well. So they would need this FA Cup far more than Villa.
exactly the point I was going to make. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll leave it there then. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we are going to go straight to the man, the legend, Jonathan Wimbush, and we're going to talk about Norwich versus West Brom, which I think we've discussed previously.
BHBN Radio has been going since 1952. It is run entirely by volunteers, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Right now, BHBN needs friends like you to ensure it can broadcast to hospitals, care homes, and into the community for many more years to come. You can help by donating through our Just GoFundMe account. It's easy. Simply go to our website, bhbn.net, Scan our GoFundMe QR code, and in a few clicks, you can help us out. If you're a taxpayer, you can give 25% more through gift aid at no extra cost to you.
BHPN Radio.
Welcome back to the Monday After from the BHBN team. We are so proud to cover West Brom, Aston Villa, Wolverhampton Wanderers and Birmingham City for the Hospital Network. We bring you live commentaries. We've already brought you live commentaries all weekend, and this is our podcast offering where we have been looking at the FA Cup offerings from our West Midlands team this weekend, and we've already covered the fact that Birmingham City have gone out of the cup, but very honourably. Aston Villa have gone out, not so honourably, but it's not their main concern. Wolverhampton Wanderers took on Grimsby away, who have already knocked out Man United, and they are through to the next round. So, I was at Norwich City with my good friend Jonathan Wimbush only a month ago, and they got a good hiding. Now, they went to Norwich yesterday to see if they could right some wrongs. They didn't manage to do that because it was Norwich 3, West Brom 1. But talk me through how you feel about the performance, because I actually thought it was much improved, Jonathan.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely an improvement on the 5-0 defeat at the Hawthorns the other week. So, yeah, it was. It was still. I mean, the way I've seen it, we've played Norwich twice in the past few weeks and conceded 8 goals, and that pretty much is, where our seasons, where the direction that our season's heading, and it's and with West Brom, anyone outside of West Brom might not know this, but there's a little bit of not a historic rivalry, but a little bit of a friendly rivalry between Norwich and West Brom by virtue of the fact that there's like birds representing both
Canaries versus
teams.
the Thrushes.
The Canaries versus the Throstles. So a little bit of rivalry there. Not as big as like a West Brom versus Wolves or an Aston Villa versus Birmingham, but the rivalry's still there. And Norwich is one of the teams that Albion fans, do want to beat when they're in the same league. So to concede 8 goals in the last 2 games against them is almost unheard of from a West Brom fan's perspective. But it was, as I said, much improved. On another day, this could have been a 3-3 draw and going into extra time if Josh Maja had just managed to stay on side for the 2 disallowed goals, because he could have had a hat-trick. One did count on the 68th minute, and that brought it back to 1-1. But then Norwich in the last 10 minutes scored twice and killed the game as a contest. And what I will say is quite a few changes were made from the 0-0 draw at St Andrews with Birmingham that I was at with Kim Smith. And most notably, Josh Griffiths, the goalkeeper position was changed from Max O'Leary. Of course, Josh Maja started. Mustafa made his debut for West Bromwich Albion as well. And the 2 youngsters that we usually have on the subs bench, and most of the time they're unused substitutes, Harry Whitwell and Ollie Bostock, started as well. So it was an improved performance, but it wasn't the same team that lost 5-0 at the Hawthorns.
Yeah, so exactly what I was going to say to you is the fact that you didn't have your new keeper in goal, Max O'Leary. I think it did make a difference, but not so much of a difference that it's the reason you lost. When you brought a new keeper in January, probably continuity is a big thing because you're not going to win the FA Cup. You're struggling in the Championship. I don't know why I didn't leave him in goal. Do keepers really need a rest? it seems a bit strange to me. Like, why not build the continuity? I thought the one man who could hold his head high, other than the fact that he wasn't on side a lot of the time, was Madger because he looked like he was trying to score goals. I mean, it could have been 3-3. Like he had the opportunities, didn't he? I mean, I'll come to you, Rob. Where does this leave West Brom? Because obviously, we cover the West Midlands. You're a Villa fan, but obviously you see a lot of what's going on there. Is this an encouraging performance given the recent defeat to them?
Well, yeah, it's encouraging from the
Wasn't
reverse
5-0.
fixture of 5-0. Yeah, it wasn't 5-0. Um, yeah, I suppose you could say, that's a direct improved performance. I suppose you could say just, I mean, we laugh about that, but it's true. It wasn't a 5-0. So obviously something had changed since that. But I don't think you can read too much into it as well. Like Jonathan said, it was a much changed team. In a way, if there was any change of performance, you can't really tell, in a sense, because that's not the normal starting 11. So, but I mean, I understand as well if a team's not performing, I suppose this is like you said, they're not going to win the FA Cup. Give some lads a chance. You never know. One of the youngsters might pull through. Like we've got Mateus Mane at Wolves. He's a bright spark. He's taken this opportunity. Bostock might have impressed the manager. Who knows? So, I think it was definitely a chance to try something, and then that might have unlocked something for the next Premier League, next Championship game for them to say, yeah, let's put the lad back in, or let's, the goalkeeper played well, for instance. Madger, scored. So I see why he changed it, but you're not going to get an accurate readout really of your team.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. The FA Cups, it, it's one of those competitions where people might get given an opportunity they wouldn't get given in a league game, and that's a good point. Enton, I'll come to you because with that in mind, how do we reflect on Eric Ramsay's tenure as a result of it? Obviously, he's had some heavy defeats, but is he turning a corner now? Then,
Well, it's hard to say he's turning a corner. I think he's done the right thing as a manager and rested the players that he's going to need for the league, for the rest of the games in the league, because they don't want to go down. So I think, again, winning always brings confidence within a team, and I think, again, it's another defeat. So it's then when you go back to the conversation again, the boys are back. They're talking about what can be put right, what can be put, how can we improve. So all those discussions will be going along, and I think that, like you said, they weren't going to win the FA Cup. Moreover, the performance was better. So at least there's something to cling on to. Jonathan knows more about the club than the West Brom than I do, but I think it's now the focus now is get that squad together and just make sure now within the next 2 to 3 games, maybe 4 games, maybe 5 games, at least they need to pick up 2 wins and 2 draws, and maybe a defeat would give them something as a target for the next 5 games.
yeah, good point. Yeah, so we'll see how the rest of that develops with West Brom. Jonathan, let you have the final
Yeah.
word as it is your team.
Well, what I will say is the next 4 or 5 games. The next game is actually at home to Coventry City, who are on a massive run. Okay, they've gone off the boil a little bit and allowed Middlesbrough back in at the top of the league. But it's a 12:30 kickoff next Saturday at the Hawthorns, West Brom v Coventry. After that, there's a midweek game against Charlton, who's one of those teams around us. So that's a huge opportunity. And then also the final game of February away to Oxford, which again, they're 23rd.
Road trip for Rob Richards and myself covering it.
Yeah, massive opportunity there to get some points on the board. And then March, Sheffield United, who've been on a bit of a run, and Southampton, which is always difficult for West Bromwich Albion. So yeah, that's the next few games.
Well, let's see how it unfolds for West Brom. They have crashed out of the FA Cup to Norwich. Villa have crashed out of the FA Cup to Newcastle. Birmingham City have crashed out of the FA Cup to Leeds. And Wolverhampton Wanderers, who we've been sort of giving a bit of stick and a bit of negativity all season, they go through against Grimsby. So the FA Cup has brought us lots of excitement all weekend. This has been the Monday After. I'm Emma Mackay. Thank you to Kim Smith, Enter Barefoot, Jonathan Wimbush, and Rob Richards. Tune in next week for more analysis. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Birmingham Sports
with Ed Mackay. This is BHBN Radio.